Doesn't matter. Everybody just trying to talk over each other.
Because
All right, I'm starting
Big
it.
Dick
Ready?
Stallion number 1. Someone else can be Big Dick Stallion number 2.
All right, so I'm Big Dick Stallion number 7, and welcome to the
Yes!
podcast.
Yo,
And
can you put a mic on my computer?
No. Oh, it's live.
No.
It's
plug
all
your
over
Turtle
now,
Beaches
boys.
into the thing. I know it's live now. Anyways, so this podcast is starting off about Star Wars Battlefront, and joining me today are my guests.
Bravo.
Too cold.
VS Hero.
Dillon.
Dealing with puberty. I can't get over it. And that guy Storm, who's playing Xbox apparently, smoking cigarettes.
Dude, I'm gonna
I'm
broadcast.
just here to make jokes. That's all I do.
All I heard was Transformers trying to talk.
All right, so let's start out with a serious topic, though. Let's talk about Star Wars Battlefront and the miracle that Christmas happened upon it. And there's how the player count is essentially doubled right now. Did anybody see this coming?
Yeah, because Christmas news are always going to be there.
Me and Gangster Aaron had this conversation, and he said, "You mark my words, after Christmas, it's gonna double."
I think he did say this. I didn't believe him. I didn't see this coming.
I wouldn't know. I wasn't there.
I mean,
Well, you kind of got to expect the player base to increase, after like holidays and stuff, because most kids will ask their parents for it in like November, but they'll be like, "Oh, just wait for Santa."
this is true.
And
Well,
that's
you
pretty
got to
much.
figure out all the main titles that came out: Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefront being as late as it was among all of the main titles. I think a lot of people waited for Christmas. I think there were some people that knew they were going to get it, but they weren't going to get it on launch, and they just pushed it back. And it's still a blockbuster title, but among the people that were playing, and it's an online multiplayer only, so there's really no incentive for people to not wait for it. I guess if it would have had a tier 1 single player, I think people would have not waited until Christmas. But there were a lot of people that did wait.
And the movie just came out.
Yeah, I was going
That
to
is
say,
true.
do you think the movie played a bigger impact or Christmas, or we'll never know?
Probably a mixture of both, because new Star Wars fans may have came when the movie came out. So they're like, "Oh, maybe this Battlefront isn't shit." So yeah. But do you guys think that they'll add a single player? Like, do you think that'd be like one of the DLCs that they talk about?
That's a good
Probably
question.
not.
That's a good question, though. Because
That is a good question.
Did they announce what the DLCs were going to be, or just 4 DLCs? Because Borderlands pre-sequel always did something shady with their DLCs. How they said they're 4 DLCs, but they were 2 of them were fucking characters, and one of them was only a full-fledged story DLC, and the other one was some bullshit. So ever since then, I don't trust DLCs anymore.
They all say new locations.
Yeah, so they could sneak in some type of co-op or some type of that's a good question.
Yeah, I could see some type of co-op more than a storyline, like a big storyline.
Because if they do like a Death Star DLC or something, they could sneak in more co-op missions. They get away with that.
They should have added the story in with the co-op missions to lead us to believe that they were going to come up with more co-op missions. But to be honest with you, the content is kind of lacking with the co-op missions to begin with. I mean, we're talking about minor cutscenes, no real baseline story. So, like, if they did have some type of playthrough co-op, I think you would have seen a signature of it on launch, and kind of speculating on whether they're going to drop a DLC with something like that. I think they might add. You would have saw that with Jakku. I mean, wouldn't they have added a mission with Jakku along with the other missions? And you would have saw that with the free DLC that they dropped if they had any intentions on expanding that area of the game.
Because Halo 4 did something similar where they had you guys remember when Halo 4 did the what was it, Spartan Ops?
Yeah.
And they kept adding to it. It was like a season of it.
Yeah.
But I guess
It was kind of like a TV
Moment
show.
of silence for the Halo series.
Yeah, Halo 5 kind of not being mentioned a lot anymore.
It's not even being played. That's why.
I don't think Halo 5 was the problem. It was more Halo 4, but we're not talking about Halo
That's
here.
a good point too.
I kind of, it's kind of funny how these game companies really, like, obviously they care about selling their product, but they care about reselling their product. And Halo made so much money off of the microtransactions with the rec packs, they could care less whether people play that game anymore or not. As long as the people that are their main fan base of the people that are playing it, the ones that are loyal to the game, they're going to continue to spend money on the game, both expansion and with the microtransactions with the rec packs. And there's a lot of stupid kids, that have accesses to credit cards or their daddy's credit card, and they're buying these rec packs. You take a look at where the money's going and the revenue in that game. It's mostly in rec packs.
So do you go ahead, brother.
What?
Do you think they'd rather, if that game never takes off, because like one of the YouTubers I watched, they say that Microsoft was trying to take a loss on Halo 5 sales. Like they're like, fuck it, we'll just make a good game and try to force it down people's throats. But like it's not taking off. Do you think they're gonna double down and go, let's focus, instead of trying to sell DLCs, because they're doing free DLC. Let's just try to make a game with core fans that'll keep buying rec packs, kind of like Destiny, and like just get them hooked on funding us through microtransactions instead of trying to fund us through a big player base, because that doesn't seem to be working.
I think that's what a lot of games are starting to gear towards. Like, I think they're starting to figure out how to bring microtransactions to console games, because we saw it with Destiny, we see it with Halo 5 and Black Ops 3.
Yeah.
All sports games too.
Yeah, I think.
I vote Activision.
Activision definitely do sports games though.
So yeah, a lot of games are starting to do more and more microtransactions. So do you guys think that would be like a set thing for the future that we expect from now on, or is it just
everything's gonna have microtransactions?
Yeah.
Everything.
That's why they are making a lot of money off free-to-play games, because they make a game that's free-to-play and they get a lot of money off of the I mean, look at Smite. Smite is a perfect example of this.
That's free to play? Oh yeah, it's on. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do they make their money on that game? I don't know much about Smite.
It has to be through microtransactions. World of Tanks is the same way.
Who bought shit for World of Tanks? I'm fucking done.
Can you go through the list of free to plays on Xbox, and are they all microtransactions full? Like,
yeah, Warframe
was the same way.
Halo 5 should be like that.
Yeah, that's kind of what Dobbins was like saying, is that like that's what they were gonna go for. They're like, let's take a loss on sales on the game, but let's make most of our money back through rec packs.
I'm actually okay with it, because I think if you fund your game through microtransactions, like you're continually getting money, so maybe you could continually keep updating it with like new things, sort of MMO style. So I'm okay with the whole microtransactions thing.
So you can't broadcast, and this is completely off topic, broadcast on Twitch while in a podcast. How about that? It restricts your account.
It was like, because Google Hangout is Google and Twitch isn't Google, I thought.
Aaron, notice me.
Yeah, I don't have Master Chief installed. But speaking of Halo 5, though, it's the 8th most played game on Xbox One right now.
What?
And then Destiny's number 7.
Why is Destiny
So what
still
about,
No, Destiny fucking took a hit. That shit was hovering at 3.
I actually have a question. What do you guys think about this backwards compatibility? Do you think that this is a risk that they're taking, that they might lose money? Because I know that a lot of consoles didn't do it because they would end up in the end losing money if they're playing older games and not actually buying new products. Do you think that this is actually could be a success? Because really a lot of they're not expanding the list like they're supposed to be. They are. I mean, really, to be honest with you, there's a lot of games on there that I wish was on there that's not. It's kind of like taking me into a candy store but telling me I can only buy 2 or 3 things and then that's it. And, by the way, you can only buy 2 or 3 certain items. I can't have whatever I want.
Well, I think it's a couple things, and it's got to change into a better question, because what it is they said they have to get permission from the publishers, and the publishers still might want to do old games like as remasters, or they want to sell the new version, but it's also Microsoft wants to go and be like, oh, this month this game, this month that game that you wanted, this, like, it's a constant exclusive kind of type thing. But to your question though, the question should be is, do you think the Xbox One fans will gravitate towards backwards capability, or do you think it's just going to be a novelty and not too many people are going to even use it?
I do know that there are certain titles that I would love to be able to have access to, and I don't have those games now. I sold them, or they got lost in the shuffle, or I gave them to my kid. Now this is me personally. I would go buy those titles again just to play them on Xbox One. Me personally. So I can't speak for everybody, but I'm sure there would be a lot of people that would go out and buy these games. Now, I understand that the money isn't actually coming directly from the publisher itself on these new games, because a lot of people are going to buy them used, or they're they might not use the feature in the marketplace feature or whatever. But I do think that the publishers would make money in the end if they had these games backwards compatibility. I mean, for instance, like Black Ops.
Off the old
Call of
games
Duty
also.
Black Ops is a game that I would buy that game in a heartbeat again. I'm waiting. I have the disc. I'm waiting for the game to become backwards.
Yeah, I would do the same thing, to be perfectly honest.
We're all
If
waiting
it's a
for that.
game I
That's
already
funny.
know and love, I would definitely go buy it again just to play it on Xbox One.
We've had this over like Black Ops for so long that we just need it so we can settle this argument between what's better, Black Ops 1 or Black Ops 2.
Well, we already know the question, or the answer to that question.
I'm not doing this debate.
Well, we all know
This is
Y'all
a
can fuck
horrible
off.
time to do that debate. Horrible question. Kick this dude from the podcast.
It'll be another podcast.
Kick this dude from the podcast with his horrible questions.
Well, we've got 6 people, so a show of votes. Who thinks Black Ops 2 is better than Black Ops 1?
Me.
No.
No.
Whoever say yeah, kick him.
All of y'all
shit.
can suck a
Wow.
dick.
It's the only hero.
Oh,
Damn!
God.
Oh, never
No.
mind. Let's bring the
It was a complete game. Here, put it this way. It was a complete game. Not only was the multiplayer extremely addictive, probably one of the most addictive games that I've ever played, but the zombies alone, and then bringing back the World at War maps, and it was you just take a look at that game, the replayability of that game. That game is timeless. It's a classic. No matter what you do to a game, it's the same thing with COD 4 and Modern Warfare 2. Everybody knows that Modern Warfare 2 was a better game, but that was just because it added more to what you already had. But nobody can say that they would go back and play COD 4 again.
But you also have to understand that I didn't play Black Ops 1 when it was the new game out. I didn't even have an Xbox until Modern Warfare 3.
bias.
So my first Treyarch game was Black Ops 2, and I instantly fell in love with it. That's why it's my favorite. I didn't play Black Ops 1 when it was the new Call of Duty.
Why are you in this
To be
argument?
fair, you'd be rolled out of that show of hands vote because.
Well, then rule me out. I don't care. Like, I don't know what you want from me. I'm not going to sit here and bash on Black Ops 1. It was an amazing game. I just have nostalgia for Black Ops 2. That's why it's my favorite.
About Modern Warfare 2. I played COD 4, but I never gave Modern Warfare 2 a shot, and I went straight to Black Ops. I that whole entire time that Modern Warfare 2 was out, I didn't even give it a chance. So when people ask me which one is better, I'm like, well, obviously COD 4. I did, and then when I tried to play Modern Warfare 2, I really didn't like it. But
I've played Black Ops 1. I just didn't play it when it was new.
Oh, dude.
I mean, I went back and played it later for a little bit, and I played some matches, but it wasn't.
He's got it up to the sea. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. There's no doubt.
I could do one better.
There's
Look at that piece of shit just sitting there being useless. Fuck that.
Yeah.
All right, but other than Black Ops 1, and other shit. So you guys do think that when backwards comes to more games that you want, you actually will be playing those games over
Yes.
Xbox One?
Most
Well,
definitely.
the titles
Absolutely.
they have right now aren't like, like
This-
look at BioShock.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know?
excited for that. I'm excited.
You know what I'm
for that.
saying? Like, like all of these games, man. Like, there's so many. I mean, for me, it's like we already had this conversation. You were get your foot off the fucking.
My
screen, dude. Take for instance, like I said that I like this game, Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. Everybody, kind of like bashed it, but I love that game. I'd go back. I bought that game for PS3 so I could play it.
That was a
You
good
know what I
game.
mean? And
Yeah.
that's a game I'd like to have backwards compatible, but apparently they're having trouble with it.
What I think is going to happen if they like perfect the whole backwards compatibility thing and they get all the games that they want, I think we'll play them for maybe a month or so until the nostalgia is gone. Then we'll go to the newer games and playing the whole backwards compatibility things.
But having access to them and being able to play them whenever you want, and it's expanding your library as well. And think about it this way, dude. Think about it from this angle. How much money do you have wrapped up in Xbox 360 DLC? That's money that you're not tapped into.
I have
you
a
lost.
lot of money in that.
The
Yeah.
Xbox One came out, that money was wasted because you'll never use that DLC. People who Gears of War, Black Ops, all these different games that have this DLC. The moment that you bought the new console, you might as well have wiped your ass with that money because it's gone. It's gone. So allowing us to be able to use what we've already paid for is, I think, will pay for in and of itself. Like, because I'll go out and buy those games that I already have DLCs for.
Yeah.
Sure, I understand where you're coming from.
I'm definitely, people definitely play 360 games more just because there's only, 3 games on Xbox One that are any good. So I'm definitely going to go back and play other games that are good.
Even after this
So-
year?
But I understand what you're saying, and I understand your point. But the fact still remains that there's a lot of people who spent a lot of money on the 360 games and the 360 DLCs, and even people were talking about whenever the Xbox One came out. I mean, even as far as devices weren't working on the Xbox One, headsets, shit like that. All the money that they had invested in their old console now no longer is it's useless. The games, the DLCs, the devices, everything. So now it's kind of like having an adapter for your controller for your headset. We have an adapter that allows us to be able to play the games that we've already paid for. How many games are ready to be downloaded that you already had on your 360 that you could download? I can play Dirt 3.
Ton.
That's it.
Yeah, I had a lot of games on my 360.
Bunch.
All right.
Well, I never got rid of any of my 360 games, so as soon as they come to Xbox One, I got a shit ton I can play.
That's good, man. Good for you. But a lot of my games, either I gave them my kid or
I mean, yeah, I understand a lot of people got rid of the 360 stuff because they thought they would never see it again, and I don't blame them.
traded their shit so they could buy the Xbox One.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I mean,
for Christ's sakes, when the Xbox One came out, I think the original my Xbox was bought when Titanfall was coming out, and I actually took old consoles because at that time they were even taking broken Xboxes that didn't even play discs. As long as the power turned on, they were giving you $50 for it. I took in 2 broken Xboxes and got $100 knocked off of my Xbox One, just because they were giving you the deals for that. I took in games, controller, whatever. I had like $250 knocked off the top price of my Xbox One when I bought it. So,
yeah.
but in the end of the day, yeah, with the backwards compatibility, if in the event that they're able to increase their list, I'm talking about not even their list, they think that that's cool. Well, they need to double that list because there's thousands of Xbox 360 titles and thousands of dollars that people, I know I spent hundreds of dollars on DLCs.
You and me both.
Died.
I probably spent thousands on games alone.
Right? I can't even I wouldn't even be able to count.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you guys played any backwards capable games yet?
Right
I
now,
played-
playing Halo Reach.
Yeah,
How's the
Lego,
frame-
Star
how's the
Wars.
frame rate?
It's garbage.
That's my
Yeah.
point.
I played Reach, and it was so laggy and the audio was terrible.
You're probably not even playing, but you're playing for like that little nostalgia, like Corey said. You're not. Well, I know you want the game to work perfectly, but
Man, if the game don't work good, what's the fucking point of playing the game? Especially when a lot of the games last generation towards the end started
Well, you
not
gotta
being able to
understand
half the
run.
games we buy now
they're
don't
not
work.
being maintained.
Yeah, but
They're
can
not
you
being-
imagine playing Skyrim at fucking 10 frames per second?
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, what did you expect? There's games that were made for the Xbox One that don't work.
Well, yeah, but the thing is the backwards capability actually showed some promise when it was running some games actually had better textures and shit. Like, you're telling me you're gonna be able to stomach playing fucking Halo Reach at 15 frames per second with edges that don't load?
Me? No, just because, I mean, I never was a Halo fanboy. It's not what I
But
grew
what
up
if
on. So, no.
Black Ops 1
No,
runs like that, where it dips frames all the time?
Well, no,
Fallout
'cause
4 dips frames all the time, but I still play it all the time.
Yeah, but that's not a COD game. That's not a game that's built around the FPS
I mean, that is
that it should
true.
maintain.
There's games right now, like your boy just said. There's games right now that are made for Xbox One that drops frames all the time. So, and again, we're going back into like uncharted territory. You know, you're going back and you're playing older games that are no longer being maintained. The resources that were used to make the game and maintain the game are no longer there. They're not. You know, updating it. They're not. You know, watching it. I mean, go back and play. Go back and play COD 4 online multiplayer. It's trash. Go back and
Yeah.
play World at War online multiplayer. It's trash.
Well,
Here's
you
the-
can't even play any of those games, not just because of like frame rate and stuff, just because of all the hackers and modders.
That's what I'm saying. It's trash.
You tell me you can go into a COD 4 lobby without someone walking on the top of the map. I'd like to see you do it.
Every lobby's modded, and they have infections and shit there too that follow you into the next match.
I mean, they're. I think like they're not at what they should be because what Microsoft is doing is basically asking developers some favors. Like, hey, will you do this for like your old fans of this game? And the developers that do are like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then they kind of just like half-ass it. So it doesn't really matter to them because they're more focused on their newer products.
That's kind of what I was trying to get at. Yeah, they're all the resources that they were using, you know, to maintain the game moved on to another title, and that's you know that goes along the lines that you know every game has a shelf life, and its replayability is going to dictate what type of shelf life it's going to have. Take for instance Titanfall. Now I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about Titanfall, but its time it was the only one that implemented the next generation, both frame rate, you know, the aesthetics, the textures, the multiplayer, everything. Like it was a next generation online shooter, and
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing. I loved that game, but it literally lasted 6 months, not even. Like the community died out. I don't even know what the game's like playing right now because I actually had to delete it off my console. I probably would go back and play it here and there, but you know, a game like that was an amazing game. You know, it kind of like got lost in the shuffle of other games being released, and that's what happens with games. Now, these games that are timeless, that these titles that will stand the test of, you know, will last the test of time, like
First
you know,
Halo.
Black Ops. There's still people playing. First Halo, that's right. Halo 3, there's still people playing those games. Regardless,
Yeah, Halo 3 is just one of those games that just.
there's still people playing those games. That doesn't matter. It still holds its value. If you go buy the game, it still holds its value. Black Ops, well, no, actually dipped. It did, but it was still at $30 for a long time. The original Black Ops was still at $30. It was amazing how long those games.
Well, you can still go back and buy Black Ops 1, Modern Warfare 3, COD 4 for more than Ghost So I mean, they definitely stood the test of time.
Ghost
At
was-
my GameStop, I can buy Call of Duty Ghost for $1. Shit you not. And it's not even worth that.
Anyway, dude, you can't give it away. If you gave me that game, I'd be like, fuck that. It's the same thing with Modern Warfare 3. Dude,
Ghost was so bad. Like, when I first heard about Ghost, I thought they were bringing Ghost back from Modern Warfare 2, but then they just ruined it all.
yeah.
It was disappointing.
I kind of liked Ghost in the beginning, the original launch maps, because of how big the maps were, and I was a Battlefield player. I liked the simplistic kill streaks, but it just was a cheesy game.
Yeah.
It was rushed. It was just a cheesy game. Now, there are people who like it, and I understand why COD players don't like it, because it's not a COD game.
It's not.
There's no signature that allows you to believe that that's a COD game. It did not feel like a COD game. The only thing that made me believe it was COD was the quick scoping implement was still in it.
He's got a point, though. He's got a point.
You're like,
Yeah.
yep, that's COD. Everything else is like, this is not, it just didn't feel like COD.
Yeah, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I played Ghost, it just felt, like, off to me. Like, it just didn't feel right.
No. I like the simplistic kill streak stuff. I like getting back to the, 1, 2, 3, 5.
What pissed when I really started hating the game was when it realized that it took longer to kill the fucking attack dog than it did a human. That was so whack. It took 2 LMG clips and you had to hit it in the head with a brick for it to finally die. All you had to do was look at another player and the player would just fall. You ain't have to shoot him. Just look at him.
Dude, how awesome would it be if they actually put bricks in a multiplayer game?
Run around with a brick.
Or had bricks you could pick up in the campaign.
Oh, man. All I know is this was supposed to be about Battlefront, and we ended up getting
Yeah,
on
no, that's
COD.
your fault. I let it
I
go
do-
though because it was entertaining.
Yeah, I do apologize, about that, but I'm just curious to know, because I love Battlefront. I love Tomb Raider. Halo 5, someone bought me that game, and you can't get me to play it. Nobody can get me to play it. I have friends who are like, yo, play it. No, you can't get me to play that game. I don't want to play that game.
You gotta owe the kind of, like, quietness of Battlefront and Tomb Raider to Fallout 4. Because, like, they're both really good games, but Tomb Raider didn't it come out, like, the exact same day, like a day
Same day.
before?
No,
Sure.
same day.
Fallout 4?
It did.
And then, like, no one really heard about it because everyone was just, like, raving about Fallout 4. And then the developer
That's
Tomb Raider
why
were
I
like,
feel sorry for people who didn't get Definitive Edition when it was free, and people who didn't actually pay attention, because Tomb Raider is a phenomenal game. I actually have YouTube videos, and I know there's a lot of people doing it. I have YouTube videos from start to finish on that actual gameplay, and how that game is so fantastic at mixing both the playable playthrough cutscenes, the action scenes, and the actual playable sections. They mix it so well in that game, you actually believe you're playing in a movie. And it draws my attention so much, and it gets you really interested, and they've added so much to that game. And Fallout, I understand Fallout is fantastic and so much to do in that game. But if anybody has played Fallout and they could just take a break and go check out that game, it'd blow your fucking mind. It would blow your mind.
Let's talk about this game real quick, because two things. There's 2 news articles that I finally read because you guys brought it up. So one of them is Rise of the Tomb Raider is coming to PC in 2016, but it doesn't mention PS4. So it'll still be an exclusive for the Xbox and PC. And then the second thing is the top 10 selling Xbox One digital games for the last 7 days, Christmas sales, were Rise of the Tomb Raider number 1, Star Wars Battlefront number 2, and then it went Gears Ultimate Edition, Minecraft for some odd reason, Ori and the Blind Forest because it was on a good sale, Need for Speed for some odd reason, Grand Theft Auto 5, which makes sense, Black Ops 3, Madden 16, and Kinect Sports Rivals, one of the best games out.
I still can't believe Ultimate 5 is still
It's
$60.
they're like a late bloomers, so to speak. Like their release dates weren't all big, but they kept like consistent sales, if not more, as the time went on.
Oh, and this list is for Xbone only, and it's only the digital sales, but it does go to your guys' points about not only are these casual games, but they were, games that most people picked up, waited till Christmas to play.
This is why I made this decision, because of Halo 5, and I had this conversation with my stream. When they asked me what games I was looking forward to most and what games I was getting, I told them I'm 100% definitely getting Tomb Raider. Why I was getting Tomb Raider is because it came out before Battlefront. All these other games dropped. Halo dropped, and they kind of, I knew that already knew that Tomb Raider was going to be amazing, and I only had enough money at that time to get one, maybe two games. I took a risk. I was able to pull something out of my ass and get Battlefront. But those were the two games that I was getting because I knew that the way it works for me is I have to be fully endorsed in a game before I spend my money on it. Because I made that mistake when I bought Battlefield Hardline. I bought it the night before it came out, and I ended up not even putting 24 hours into that game. I don't want to make a mistake where I'm going to spend $60 on a game and get it when I know that that game is going to drop in price. Because Tomb Raider dropped in price. I could have got it for $40 on Christmas, but I bought it on launch just because I love the game. I paid an extra $20. I wasn't a little hurt about it, but it still dropped in price. A lot of people was hoping that these games would drop in price. I think that's another reason why people waited till Christmas.
Yeah,
Maybe
I was just about to say that. Somebody commented that.
Yeah, maybe it would drop in price, but I didn't want to take that chance. I didn't want to spend the money that I had on games that I wasn't going to play. I wanted to pay for the money. I wanted to pay the money for games that I knew I'd be playing for the next year. I knew I'd be playing Battlefront for the next year because the game, it being DICE, has a good track record in my mind for Battlefield 3. DICE is amazing. And Tomb Raider, I played Definitive Edition, and I knew Tomb Raider was going to knock it out of the park. Tomb Raider is by far, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, the best game of the year. It blows all other games away as far as the way it looks, the way it plays, the way it feels, the replayability, everything. It blows all other games, especially single player games. We're not talking about multiplayer game. We're talking about like single player games. But I'll just shut up and let you guys talk. But yeah, those were the two games that I had on my mind that I was going to get 100%, no doubt. And here it is that they're the two top-selling games on Christmas. But they didn't do shit when it on launch because of the launch.
Yeah, because it's just hype is very powerful when games come out. It kind of sucks that Tomb Raider 2 like that. So maybe you could probably blame that on the marketing team for like picking the same day and not saying, let's try and pick like a different season to get rid of it. But I guess in the end, it all turned out pretty okay for them.
See, this is why I love this podcast. Storm was right about the sales being a huge factor, and you're right about hype, because the only game on this list, depending on your thoughts on Battlefront's hype train, the only other game on here that was a super hype game was Grand Theft Auto 5, but I think that's on the list because people got new Xbones and didn't have the game. And Black Ops 3,
Black
got
Ops
new
3.
Xbones and didn't have the game.
Well,
Everything else on this list are older games that came out
Call of
months ago.
Duty is always one of those games that's going to sell the most on launch, just because it's Call of Duty. Yeah,
Well,
just
it's
because
all
the
hype.
name Call of Duty, and the hype, especially this game, just because it was Treyarch, that added to it even more. Just because this game was Treyarch and Zombies was coming back, more people were going to buy it on launch compared to waiting to Christmas. They were going to wait on games like Battlefront and games like that for Christmas.
Well, see, I took the opposite route. I chose not to get Black Ops when I really wanted it because of it being a Treyarch game, and obviously I'm a Black Ops fanboy, a Zombies fanboy, but I chose not to get that game because and I got 4 kids. I had to buy them shit. You know, I had a lot of money invested in Christmas for my kids, so I can only really afford to get 2 games. So I opted not to get Black Ops because I went with the 2 games that I thought would really be better for me personally, and I would get the most time out of those games. And I waited for Black Ops. Now, Black Ops is not going to dip in price. I know it.
No,
Black
not
Ops
that
is not
much.
going to dip in price. If anything, it's going to go back to the standard price after Christmas.
It'll
Probably.
dip by like $10 or so, but I think the sales are way too
Not
strong.
significant.
The sales are
Yeah,
way too strong for it to
Oh.
dip.
But the key thing he said though is he made an educated consumer thing where he bought 2 games that he thought had the most replayability, and he didn't buy the games that were built on hype.
See, that's
Which
the
is
issue. A lot of these people who buy games aren't educated. Like they don't think. They just
That is true.
buy.
and that's
They
another
buy.
thing about
They're also buying because they're other. I got a 12-year-old kid. He comes to me and be like, I want this, I want this, I want this. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, well, my friend, they're getting. I'm like, you're buying it because they're buying it. It kind of follows trends, and I think that's what a lot of this broadcast is about. I think one of the things that Gangster Aaron was trying to touch on was, you know, the hype, and I think the Christmas, you know, hype is all of these kids were asking for what they really wanted, what their parents were going to get them, and if, you know, this one kid knows that all of his friends from school is getting the game, he wants to get the game to play with them. He's not thinking about what game is going to be best for him to play and what he's going to get. You know, he's not thinking about price. My kid has no sense of value. Me, on the other hand, I have a sense of value. Like, I want to get the most out of a game and make sure I get my money's worth before I put more money into a game. Like, I know I'm going to end up putting more money into Battlefront. I don't want to, but I am. I'm going to end up putting money into Battlefront. So, but I'm going to be playing the game for the next year. Tomb Raider, I'm going to be playing the game for the next year. Now, Black Ops, on the other hand, I'm waiting. I'm going to get the game. I'm waiting until I can build up money after Christmas because it drained me. I'm getting Black Ops. I'm just not getting it right away. And I think a lot of the people out there, you know, you got to really do your homework on these games because you're making a consumer decision. You know, Battlefront, even if you're not a Star Wars, you know, even if you're not a Star Wars fanboy, the game itself, take for face value, is incredible.
Yeah, if you took Star Wars out of the title and slapped something else down, it'd still be an amazing game. I don't know
if it'd be an amazing game. I think it'd be an okay game.
Yeah, because, you know,
like
to me, like, I waited for a very long time for a new Battlefront because I beat Battlefront 1 and 2 and waited forever for a Battlefront 3. Followed all like the little stories of how developers were like picking it up and then putting it back down. So when I heard
they didn't want to do it.
Battlefront, I was immediately sold.
They hyped the game for 2 years.
We didn't even know if they were gonna make it. They were talking about, oh, I don't know, it might not work.
Exactly. See, not an
Aaron had
person like that
3 years ago about Battlefront.
I heard Battlefront, and I was like, "Where's my wallet?"
Yeah, because I think, I won't lie, I think if this game wasn't Star Wars and it was just another game, it would be okay. Like, because this game is good, but because there's only 4 maps, the main... Like,
There would have been any other developer that made this game, I wouldn't have bought it. I bought it because it was DICE. I bought it because it was DICE. I knew the game was going to... Because they can handle that massive online multiplayer. You take a look at what they had to do with Battlefield 4 to make it work. Like, if you played Battlefield 4 from launch,
It was terrible.
the game broke.
It was awful.
It didn't work. They dropped frames. You froze. The game, the rubber banding. The guns were out of balance. One-shot shots on weapons that shouldn't do it. You know, the game was fucking broke. It didn't even play. I was playing Ghost. Seriously, when we were on that conversation about Ghost, my kid had Ghost. I was playing the 360 then. This is before I bought an Xbox One when it came out for the 360. I was playing Ghost with a buddy of mine because I couldn't even play Battlefield 4.
Okay, I have like a quick question.
They roll up
I have a quick question talking about how games come out broken. Would you guys be willing for developers to probably take 2 years instead of 1 year to develop a game?
Well, that's how most games are now. They're always 2 years.
The only
but-
ones that didn't do that was Call of Duty games, just because there was only 2
Yeah, but Call of
developers.
Duty, I was gonna say they always got at least 2 years to develop also.
They rush these games
I'm
out.
saying, like,
Well,
would you,
they rush them because I think most dev cycles should be 3 to 4 years, but
You
2
gotta
years
understand, they're under
they
contract. They lose money if they don't meet a deadline. They're under contract. It's the same way if you build a house, bro. If you come to me and you have $250,000 and you be like, here's $250,000. Build me a $150,000 house. The rest is yours, right? And it's taking longer, and you have it under contract to meet a certain date. Every day that you're late on contract, you're bleeding money. If they don't make and create these games and what they want, and there's so many people that have their hands out when these games are being made. Like EA wants a certain element in it, and they have certain standards in what they want in the game, and they have to meet a deadline. If they're not met, they lose money. It's the same way in any kind of contract or business. They're under contract to create these games because they've got to meet these hypes. They got to meet these deadlines. You mark my words. There's going to be another Battlefront next year. And you brought up that conversation about should there be 2 years? I think there should, because Battlefield 3 was a 2-year plan. They created the DLC and the launch date. The game was out for 2 years before all of the content was actually out for Battlefield 3. They took a long time developing it and marketing it and putting it out on the shelf.
That game was amazing.
Mark my words. Battlefront, the next Battlefront will come out next year when the next movie comes out, and it's not, if they're rushing this game for a year and they don't take the time on it, it's going to be a shit game.
Well, I mean, the point is that most games at least have a 2-year dev cycle, but I was saying just from a ideal world that most games should have 3 to 4 years of deving.
yeah, but
and DICE spent like two years on Battlefront. They didn't.
Yes.
I mean,
but
when Battlefront came out, it was relatively, okay. Like, it wasn't too broken at all.
they ran flawless though. They ran like perfect.
That's
They
true.
ran
But you mark my words. They have they're already. I can guarantee you, they're already working on the next Battlefront because they're coming out with another movie next year.
Well,
They've already written that date for the movie.
Well, as far as this, there's some facts. They got the DLC that they promised that they've sold for, and then the next DICE and EA has already said DICE is working on the next Battlefield game that's coming out next year. So that kind of does go to your point there that DICE will be making a game. They did say that, and then what was it? And then they said that Visceral's supposed to be working on the next Star Wars game.
That action adventure type Star Wars.
Yeah, I think it's lining up that there's going to be a Battlefield game in the fall, and I think that the next Star Wars game is going to come out in the spring of 2017, but don't quote me. But I think that's how it's lining up.
They're going to push that date before the movie comes out, bro. I'm telling you, it's going to be shit. Whoever's working on it is not going to have a long time to develop this game.
Go ahead.
Oh, my question's off topic. Go ahead.
Oh, right. That's what I kind of hate, because they're dictating their schedule towards a movie schedule, which is it's kind of unfair to the developer, because if you have a bug, who knows how long it's going to take it. If there's like a little hiccup in the movie, you can just retake the scene like that. I don't want to take anything away from like movie makers or anything, but I think developing a game takes longer than it does to make a movie.
It's true, and it's a marketing strategy, but that's the point that I'm trying to make. When I found out that they're bringing out another movie next year around the same time, that's the date that they're aiming for. And from the marketing strategy, that they're going to make more money if they notice how many movies have done this. They've created a game that came out 2-3 weeks, a month before the actual movie came out. So they can
licensed games are usually shit unless they have the name Arkham in it.
I mean,
Shadow of Mordor was licensed.
They did it with what the fuck? They did it with Tomb Raider. They did it with Tomb
Raider was like originally a game.
Yeah, Tomb Raider was a game.
And then it became a movie.
Is what I'm trying to say. Is it like they always try to aim the release date right before the movie? That's what they try to contract for.
Two questions. One, do you think that they should? This is like I don't think we'll know the answer, but do you think they would be more benefit? They'd have more of a benefit if they tried to release the next game really close to the movie to build up on the hype, or do you think they should just do what they did this time and just schedule someone?
Take their time. I'd rather them take the time and develop the game so that it's worth it.
Like they should release it after the movie so everybody's hyped up for it.
Yeah, like don't. I hate licensed games so much because they're always some shit. Like if you take the time to develop a game, it'll be good. Don't just make a game for the sake of keeping up with the movie.
Well, I played the Transformers games, and I watched the movies, and they've always released the Transformers right before they released the Transformer movie, which I think they might have missed one game movie in there. But most of the time, they released the Transformers game right before they dropped the movie. And I played the Transformers games, and a lot of them were shit.
Yeah, the only good Transformers game I ever played was Transformers War for Cybertron, which didn't go along.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's another conversation about Transformer games. I'm just trying to make the point that when they're trying to rush a game on the shelf for a movie, the developers either and like you can't really like you said it's kind of unfair to blame the developers because they're under contract, and really it's the marketing strategy for the game to try to build on the hype of the movie and the game. Bringing the titles in closer together with the release dates is the best chance of success for the game, because they're the people are hyped for the movie and they're thinking that there might be some element of the movie in the game, so they go and get the game. This has been true for years. I can't tell you how many games have done it. They think that there's gonna be some element in the movie or in the game that's in the movie.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm agreeing with you on that one.
But as far as Battlefront, like, if Visceral's making Battlefront, and I didn't know this,
not Battlefront. They're making the news is that they're making an action adventure Uncharted style Star Wars game. Star Wars like 1313.
Oh, okay. So they're not making Battlefront. They're making
No.
Yeah, Battlefront.
Visceral, and I know this is a podcast, and I'm gonna say it. Visceral can suck a bag of dicks and choke.
Okay, you can cuss on my podcast. Ain't nobody watching this shit. Get like 20 views, son.
And they're all by Aaron.
They fucked up on Hardline so bad. They tried to tap into the Call of Duty market, and you see elements of Call of Duty all in that game. Especially the way the classes are set up, the way like you could see the EA maps, or not the EA maps. You can see the DICE maps. Like the DICE maps are sick. But the Visceral made maps are trash. They're Call of Duty maps. Yeah, they look cool, but they're set up the way Call of Duty maps would be set up. And if I wanted Call of Duty, I would have went out and bought Call of Duty. I played Battlefield for the Battlefield staple. You don't put Battlefield on a goddamn game and then expect it to not beat Battlefield. Like I thought that there'd be some signature of Battlefield in that game, and there wasn't.
I don't even know if you can consider them if they look cool.
In our last podcast, Aaron made a good point that Visceral has something to prove. So, like, they may, really work their best magic on trying to get this game to be really good because they're kind of like that underdog developer.
Well, and not only that, though, like I said in the last podcast, though, their foundation, if they felt forced making Hardline, you can tell because it was an unimaginative game and anything. But not only is that they made Dead Space, they didn't make first-person shooters, and this game coming up is an action-adventure game, so, and hell, it might have a horror element from what I heard about 1313. From what I remember, I thought it was like a prison or something, but anyways. But it's an action-adventure game, something that Visceral started out doing, and not shitty first-person shooter games.
Yeah, so they're doing what they're good at this time, which means the game should be very good. Like it should do well, especially with that whole Star Wars name on it.
Do you think people will buy it though? It only takes one game for people to not buy your product anymore. Like if anybody buy the next Call of Duty, I'll be shocked. Besides the idiots, people who realize how bad Ghost was, if they buy the next Infinity Ward game, I'll be shocked. Because it only takes one bad product to stop people from buying your stuff.
That's not true, though.
Oh.
It's not true. Well, that would be like
Usually
saying,
two
okay,
games.
that would be like saying, okay, that you make a movie and then you come out with a sequel, and then the sequel really wasn't as good. But then you like, all right, for instance,
It's usually two.
take a look at the Rocky movies.
Usually,
Right, the first movie was an low budget film. It was okay. The second movie was amazing. The third movie was cheesy. The fourth movie was probably one of the best movies that they came out with. So you can't really judge a sequel or another movie. You know, like you cannot judge one game and and it's still gonna sell though. Like they're selling on the name. There's always going to be a Call of Duty coming out every year, and it's always going to sell.
Call of Duty Ghosts wasn't Infinity Ward's first game. They had been making Call of Duties for years. I mean, COD 4 was amazing.
Well,
Modern Warfare 2 was amazing. Modern Warfare 3, not that good. Ghost, awful. I mean, are they just going downhill?
It's two things.
COD 4 is what actually got them in the monopoly of modern like warfare style games, when there have been better war games on the market predating COD 4. COD 4 brought modern war mainstream, right? That's what changed it for everybody, and it kind of made Call of Duty what Call of Duty is now today. Even though World at War, like that game itself is what changed everything. It was kind of like the keystone to multiplayer, and it caused Call of Duty to actually get a grip and a monopoly on first-person shooters. And it's been uphill downhill for them ever since. They haven't really had to try. Warfare 2 was groundbreaking. It smashed records, and they've been smashing records ever since. And they're going to continue to sell on that name regardless, because Call of Duty's Call of Duty. It stands alone.
Yeah. It'll sell just because of Call of Duty, but do you think it'll sell as much, even though they came out with Modern Warfare 3, which wasn't that good, and then Ghost, which was bad?
Well, dude, it's like that every market.
With what Visceral's doing, go ahead.
You can't judge an artist, like a music artist, and say, okay, well, this album didn't sell as much as your last album. Oh, you're falling off. No, because the markets change, people's buying trends change. You know, things. You know, it doesn't mean that it's a lesser of a game, or people can't judge a game on whether it sold more copies, or judge an artist because they didn't sell as many albums, or you really can't judge that and say, oh, it didn't sell as much as predating. Like there's got to be some type of cap in how much you can sell. You know what I mean? Like,
the speculation, or not speculation, but like the fact is really that Black Ops 2 hit the cap. That was it. COD can never sell past Black Ops 2. And that's why they're focusing more on microtransactions, because COD's kind of hit its epitome. They can't really touch any new users. That's it.
Yeah, but I see what Hero's doing. He's comparing like one work to the other, but you can think about there's never been there's only been one other Star Wars action adventure game that I know of, and that was it's a really old game called Star Wars Battlefront. I played it when I was like 12. I mean, not Star Wars Battlefront. Sorry, Star Wars Bounty Hunter. It was Star Wars Bounty Hunter, and that was the only other kind of action adventure game. And
could say The Force Unleashed.
Is that more hack and slash?
That was one of my favorite games.
No, it's kind of think of like a more controlled GTA. It was like you could explore like whatever area you were in very well, and you could complete your mission. It's Assassin's Creed. It's more like an Assassin's Creed type game.
Well, yeah, that's what they were saying. The next one's like Uncharted, which, well, never mind. Sorry, wrong.
Yeah.
All right, but I got 2 points.
Saying like comparing it to like its other works, Hero, but its other works aren't really that much. So this game has potential to be groundbreaking.
I have 2 points. One, to Hero's credit, though. I think that something stands true that after 2 fails, the fans start to lose faith. And the second thing is y'all are wrong about Infinity Ward. Infinity Ward it goes Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare 2, Titanfall. Respawn is now Infinity Ward. Infinity Ward did not make Ghosts. The shell of themselves did. And the shell of them made Modern Warfare 3. So really, to Heroes' credit, it goes, do we trust Infinity Ward 2.0? Well, they made Modern Warfare 3 and Ghost, 2 meh games. So then the faith goes down. I do stand by him, though. After 2 bad projects, you kind of lose faith as a fan. Like with DICE, Battlefield 4 was doo-doo. I lost faith a little bit. Battlefront kind of reclaimed it.
I think Titanfall was marketed wrong, and it could have been one of the best games to ever hit the shelves. And I think that its content, it was lacking in content. I think there was a few things that was wrong with it as far as like, appealing to the people who actually like gunplay, kind of lacking in, there was a few problems with that game. When you market the game, they blew that game out of the water though, as far as like the next generation game. It was the first next generation game, and really there wasn't anything better at the time.
I'll give you credit.
What Titanfall did wrong was they marketed their game as going like the next best thing, like, oh, this game's gonna change everything. And when you do something like that, when you say, yeah, our game's gonna be the best, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
Which Titanfall fell, but it fell short.
I think you're right on that, and I also think Storm's right just from next gen, because like I remember playing it and the HUD on it, like when you get into Titan, the screen is like divided up in 3 chunks. Like that shit is just feels next gen. Like a lot of the games felt it visually too. And I think
the third element of the game, it's got a third dimension that's going on as well. The AI that's in it, the massive landscapes, and the massive battles that's going on while you're fighting. The AI fighting AI while you're in. It put you in the scale of what it would be like to be fighting in a futuristic environment. And like I said, at the time, it was the first game that came out on Xbox One that implemented the next generation console like features in a game. There's really there's been games that have done it since, obviously, but I mean it was the first game to do it, the first online shooter to actually implement the shit, to say, hey, this is the Xbox One, this is what you get. You're not going to see this on 360. This is what you bought to get. This is what you're getting now. Obviously we want PC features. Everybody knew that PC has been light years ahead of console, and this is a step up. It's not a large step, but it's a step up in the PC direction. But Titanfall was the first actual release that made you think, hey, this is beyond what you've been playing since you've been on console. It's the next thing.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
He had it spot on when he said they marketed it wrong. If they would have marketed it like this is gonna be like a good game, not the best game, like no one can say like our game's gonna be the best except for probably Rockstar, because they're the only ones that make GTA games. But when everyone's making shooters and you say ours gonna be like
you can't compare that game to anything. It's one of them standalone games. There's nothing out there like it, and if you make anything like it, you're just gonna make a carbon copy, and it's gonna be a Vanilla Ice syndrome. You're just gonna be copying somebody else's thing and then marketing as something new when really it's just GTA. Like look at, what was it, War Dogs or something like that? What the fuck was the name of that game?
Wait, what?
Watch Dogs. They tried to do that with Watch Dogs and it didn't work.
It didn't work because it's basically GTA with parkour.
I miss watching it. It's like Assassin's
Well, I mean,
Creed.
they tried to do the same thing with the Dead Island remake that had parkour in it. What was it, Dying Light? I mean, that was all it was
Yeah, but I hear
Dead
some
Island with
people-
parkour.
Dying Light was better for some reason. Dying Light didn't have a cheesy story. Dead Island's story was cheesy. Like the characters were so shallow.
I mean, I didn't really like any of those games. I just don't like those type of games, though. It's not for me.
All right, so speaking of games coming out next year for EA, the confirmed ones were the Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, Unravel, that new IP, and Mirror's Edge, I forgot all about. So DICE is already making a game next year that's coming out. Is there Mirror Edge too?
Yo, PvZ, I'm actually interested in that game.
I bet that's got that.
Did you play Mirror's Edge 1?
I don't know if I'd pay $60 for it and buy it on launch, but that's a game that I might actually pick up if it dips in price because PvZ was actually a beautiful game, dude.
Yeah, it was.
It was pretty sick. And really, to be honest with you, I know it's like kid based and kind of like they kind of market it towards kids, and it's kind of benign if you think of it like benign and like violence. It's it actually looks and feels like a cool little over the shoulder or third person shooter. It's actually pretty cool.
It had a lot of stuff in it too. There was a lot to do in that game.
Yeah, I'm excited for Unraveled because it's like kind of like. Yes, I'm excited for Unraveled because it's a new. I know it's backed by EA, but it's like kind of like a new developer, and it looks like a kind of like Little Big Planet, and I never got to play Little Big Planet, so yes, I'm excited for Unraveled. Say on me all you want.
I know when he's playing that for the first day, we all gonna be clowning him playing real games.
It's not gonna be the first thing I play when I come back, but it will be on my list, definitely.
So your dad salami slaps your Xbox again.
I'm not letting him touch Xbox ever again. That's not happening. No.
All right,
Can we
what did y'all want to talk about next? Did y'all want to talk about EA some more? Did y'all want to talk about go back to Star Wars Battlefront real quick?
Well, your headline is Star Wars Battlefront, so I think we ought to stay in the.
Yeah, but ain't nobody gonna get this far to see that we continue to talk about it an hour later.
It's gonna turn into what the podcast was yesterday, Aaron. Just me, just making bad jokes.
It'd be kind of calculated.
Oh
no!
The Inside Joke podcast. All right, so we want to talk about Battlefront. Man, there's so much.
What DLC do you want to see for Battlefront?
Wait. Time out. Did you just ask what DLC do we want to see, or what DLC are we going to see? Because what we are going to see is very limited, because there's really not much that they can do at this point. Because if they're going to keep it in the classics, in the 70s version of Star Wars, and they're not going to touch base on any element that they've released since the 70s and 80s, then really there's not many environments, and you're not going to see any more heroes. What heroes are you going to see? Chewbacca.
Yeah, they said Chewbacca, Obi-Wan, and then like two random dudes from the villain side that I had to Google. Yeah, Obi-Wan. Yeah, old Obi-Wan. Reddit keeps
me. Wait, Greedo? You say Greedo?
Yeah, someone said Guido in the Reddit also. Like, dude, they were grasping.
Greedo's not a hero.
No, he's that guy.
Well, I mean, you got several more villains that you could do, but you're limited on heroes.
They were saying the dude on the Death Star that Vader talks to.
Who?
That one captain dude.
Oh,
that guy?
I don't know. One of the captain dudes on the Death Star that Vader talks to and shit. They were listing him as a potential villain.
No, Vader kills all his captains. That's not good.
The one old dude.
He kills everybody.
He buys what they're doing and probably include the prequel trilogy, because a Clone Wars DLC has so much to offer.
I think you could give out really good DLC if you dabbed into the prequels.
Well, back to what Storm was saying. They painted themselves into a corner because they keep saying over and over again. They said no Star Wars 7, the movie, the Force Awakens. They said no DLC from that at all is coming. That's pretty much guaranteed now. And they keep saying in like tweets and stuff that they're only focusing on the first trilogy. And there was only one rumor about the prequels, but since then they've never touched it again. So at this point, it looks like
There's
only
so
it's
much
going to be those.
to do.
They could still put in major space battles.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah, space battle DLC.
Also, I want to see a starfighter environment in fighting inside a starfighter, inside hangar bays, inside the starfighter environment. But that's the subject though. Like really, there's not many environments that they can touch on because if they're gonna focus on the original trilogy and not go to the prequel, because there's so much more content. I mean, we're talking about General Grievous. We're talking about
young Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Count Dooku, all that.
Yeah, Count Dooku.
There's so much to do.
You have the entire Jedi Council in the prequels.
Yeah, play as Samuel L. Jackson. That'd be the dream in a Star Wars game.
Darth Maul as a villain.
Yeah,
that'd be dope.
Yeah, Darth Maul would be dope as a villain.
I just gotta ask if they do not bring Jar Jar Binks as a hero because
people would just pick him so he could get killed and record it. The whole viral thing is watch Jar Jar Binks die in different ways.
But let's not talk about heroes. Let's talk about environments, because the Naboo and the Gungan war against the droid army, that environment. And what about the droids? Instead of being stormtroopers, you could be use the droid army. Vehicles and shit that they have. There's so much more content that they could do if they actually touched on the prequels instead of actually having.
The Battle of Geonosis was pretty good. Where they pinned all the Jedi in with the Geonosians.
I mean, they did all that in Battlefront too. I don't see why they can't do it now.
That's why everybody's upset, the Taloras.
That's why everyone's pissed off. You can't deny that the prequels have a lot more content than the original trilogy does.
And they have a lot more texture to offer to the open environments. And, I mean, like I said, the planet Naboo, when they had the open war scene with the Gungans versus the droid army, and then coming out of the tree line, they have all those areas and the vast landscape in Naboo. They have what about the last fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker? That environment would be thick. The magma environment
too.
There's so much more environments that they could touch on for map content, and really, I've gone back and watched all three movies. Over again, the first three. There's really nothing that they can do. They have the one map where Han Solo goes to meet his old friend, and that's where they get captured, and Luke Skywalker gets into the first confrontation with Darth Vader. They have that environment that's kind of like an enclosed environment. There's not many environments that they have left in the original trilogy that they could give you. They've really like Gangster Aaron said, they've really boxed themselves in if they're going to just focus on the original trilogy.
Do you think that themselves, or was Disney hey, you can make this game, but you can only make it with the original trilogy?
No, that was them. They did it themselves.
Oh, they did it themselves?
EA is licensed to do Star Wars shit.
Oh, well, that's
they licensed the Star Wars universe for gaming. They just did it.
Why do you think they did that?
To Stormer's point, because they probably want to try to sell you another Star Wars Battlefront. Not next year, but the year after that. They probably want to do it then.
Yeah.
Because
they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it right before the next movie comes out, and then that's when they're gonna give you everything that we're talking about right now. All these ideas and what they're gonna do then is they're gonna give us another half a game. They're gonna break it down so that they can sell you the DLC to it. Where they could just released it in full version. They're just going to break the game in half and then sell you half of it on release and then the other half in DLC. That's what they're doing with this game.
Because if I was the lead creative designer at DICE, or if I was a dude at fucking EA, my DLC strategy would have been: first DLC, all new movie. Second DLC, all Clone Wars. Third DLC, maybe some Clone Wars mixed with some other shit, probably more Clone Wars.
Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi.
And then the fourth DLC would be all fucking space battles or shit. It'd probably be the third DLC. It would all be space shit. You'd fucking have galactic conquest. You'd have fucking maps taking place inside of the fucking Death
We're
Star.
talking about Battlefield 3.
But
That's
yeah,
what
carry
Battlefield 3
yourself.
did.
But that's what I would do. But the fact that they're like, nah, we're just gonna do these 3 movies. I don't even see how it's possible, and it really doesn't seem like it is possible.
I think maybe we're thinking as in like making a good game and giving back to the community sense. They're thinking in like a business sense where like let's put the least amount of content into a game and we'll still make it $60 and we just put DLC where it's going to end up being $110 and still not going to have everything. But then we just make another game and do the whole thing again.
Right now, no, you're probably right, and you and Storm are probably both right, but because they haven't announced anything as far as what's in the season pass, it's a witch hunt at this moment, but with a witch hunt there was some fucking voodoo on the ground with all these tweets that they keep putting out, though. So it's leading towards that, but I'm not ready to fucking just say, all right, burn EA yet.
All of these ideas that we have on what they could do are going to be in the next game. And then you mark my words, if this is successful with this new currency that we have right now, as far as like the credits and the star cards, expect that feature in the next game, but with buyable content and microtransactions for credits and being able to buy.
That's exactly what Activision's doing, like with Black Ops 3. Something very, very similar.
Because then that'll give them more of a budget to work with to actually create because it costs money. You take a look at I've done my research with this game and the development for each map and what they had to do. That's why there was only 4 maps on launch, and then the other maps were just bits and pieces from those maps that were put in for like shortened versions of other maps. As far as like the little game mode maps, but the main maps, there's only 4 main maps plus 2 that makes 5. And you got to take a look at DICE's record. Every time DICE has released the game, or EA and DICE has released a game like as massive as Battlefront is, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, they've always released 7 to 9 original, huge, well-designed, well put together maps, and then released 4 maps or 2 maps or 3 maps here and there, and then it doubled the game, literally doubled the game from the original launch day, from the maps and content. They've doubled the content. If they're gonna follow that same track record, and they said that they're gonna release some new free content. If my memory serves me correctly, they're only gonna release another 4 maps with DLC. They're only gonna release another 4 maps. You're only gonna get 4 maps out of this game because they Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 doubled their amount of maps that they had on launch, and if they're going to do the same thing with this, because they're not going to release another, because that's not. I mean, I play the game, I get bored. That's why they had to do it. They changed Supremacy and Walker Assault to 2 rounds each, so that you're on the map longer rather than running through the map rotation where it was just boring. You get bored and get off.
He's got a point. He's got a point with that.
He does. It's hard to.
I like your point. So you really don't think?
Hard point to swallow, though.
Yeah. You don't think each DLC is gonna have 4 maps in it?
No.
Yeah,
They're only going to release
a hard pill to swallow.
This is going. I'm just following the pattern of what DICE has done with the other massive games that they've put together. They released 7 to 9 maps on launch and then doubled those maps to where it was 7 to 9 maps released in the DLCs. So if they're going to follow the same track record and only release 4 maps, then you're only going to see another 4 to 5 maps coming out on DLC. Because they've spent so much money on detail, on texture, and getting these environments right. And not only getting the environments nostalgia right, and as far as like the aesthetics and the way it looks, but also making them function right. It's very hard to make an environment look correct and also make it function as a multiplayer map.
Yeah, I guess it can't be too mad because the game did release without a hitch. So I guess we can try and trust them to what they're doing. Not saying it's going to be completely fair, but they're doing it sort of right.
Well,
I want to see more guns, more. I want to see more character models. I want to see more vehicles. Like that's like in order for me to get my money's worth out of this DLC, and I think really that's what we're all searching for with this. I think what we're grasping at is that we know we're going to pay for it, but are we going to what's worth it? Is it going to be worth it to us in the end? Are we going to buy this DLC, and when everything's all said and done, are we going to look back and be like, I don't think it was, it's kind of, it was okay, but not, like, I don't want to be sitting and thinking, oh, well, I just paid over $120 for a game, and then think, I didn't get, I don't know. I mean, the game's not broken, like you said. It released without a hitch. Other than some noob tactics and some of the star cards being abused the way they're being abused, and DICE has always done a good job at balancing. They've never allowed things to be completely overused and overpowered for long. So always trust that they're going to get their balancing issues right. They will. But the game content itself, on launch and releasing after, is it going to be worth it, or are they just going to? And here's another thing that you're also going to see. You're also going to see reused textures, reused environments, like some of those hallways, some of the boxes, some of the things that you see in other maps. You're going to see those being reused in the DLC maps too, to cut cost and to make it easier for them. The inside environments and hallways and shit that all look alike in every map. All the hallways and stuff look alike in every map.
True.
So they're going to reuse these textures in these maps that are coming out. Is it going to be too noticeable? And they've done that with Battlefield 3, and they did that with Battlefield 4. If you go look in every map, the same boxes, the same shit was used in every single map. The same fucking like areas and cargo bays and stuff. The same all the textures look the same. Yeah, the map was different, but the textures and the content to fill the map to make it look full. It's kind of like going in a house, and every house in your street, but every single house on your street has the same furniture, the same dining room table, the same TV stand. Every house is different, but every house has the same shit in it.
Well, gotcha. You love making all your metaphors come back to houses. I noticed. No, but to that,
but you're gonna see them reuse textures because that's what DICE has always done.
Well, yeah, but that could have been a limitation on the old consoles, because COD's always said the reason why there's not more guns in the game is because the memory can't handle it. And I assume the same thing applies towards Battlefield games. Is the reason why Battlefield didn't have that many different buildings that were different was the game couldn't load that much.
It's easier to reuse a texture rather than creating it from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
as a person who had to model and texture things for projects and stuff, I do know it is a lot easier just to use something you already have and just change a little detail on it than to try and make it all over again.
Yeah, but that doesn't really.
I'm not just using what I already know from the previous games that I've played. And also, you see that identity take shape in a lot of the environments in Battlefront. You see the same type of things and same type of hallways and same type of...
The sprinting is exactly the same as Battlefield 4.
What? This dude. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but with Battlefield, the things that were the same were the buildings, and yeah, mostly the buildings were all the same. But with Battlefront, most of the maps outside of the hallways, which are the all exact same hallways, the map designed geographically and elevation and stuff, those are all different every map.
Yes. Rocky maps.
You can't copy
maps, snow maps. Yes, but when
the texture will carry over, but not the.
But you're going to see another Hoth. Or not another Hoth, another Tatooine. Oh, well, what's another Tatooine? Oh, I don't know. Jakku? The boxes in Jakku? The landscape, it looks, wow, Tatooine looks a lot like Jakku.
True. I don't know that everybody thought Jakku was.
Yeah, we're going to get...
Aaron, think like this. Say they make Kashyyyk, I bet you're going to use the textures that they got from Endor.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
That's right. That's what I'm trying. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the same. I think that's more, that has to do more with the engine than it does creative design. Like, the reason why every building was the exact same building in Battlefield is because it would have been too hard to fucking design a whole new building that fell in different ways and different
What's
angles
the
and shit.
difference in making a whole nother building than making a whole other tree when you already have trees from Endor?
Well, not that. Those would be the same. But I think the difference between the difference between a grass map and a fucking and you're trying to say the difference between Tatooine, which was a rocky, edgy map, and the difference between a desert map. You're trying to say those two maps are similar?
The landscape.
You're saying those are the same?
The landscape and the way it takes shape is similar to how Jakku takes shape. If you take a look at the landscape itself, you just substitute the rocks for sand.
The lighting is the same on those maps.
Yeah, but all those maps are built around they're built around either jungle, snow, sand, rock, or molten.
I understand that. But
those all took a while to design. Those aren't like a copy.
You're essentially going to see another Hoth. It's just going to be, it's going to be. It's kind of like making a song that's the same song as before, but only changing one or two words or one or two ways of singing the song. But it's the same song essentially. It's the same thing with the maps. Like they're not. It's easier to recreate something than start from scratch and create something, is what I'm trying to say. And DICE has been doing it since Battlefield 3.
My thing is two things. One, I think each map is different based upon the the I don't know, the setting really. But a good example is like COD Black Ops 1. Array and Summit were both snow maps. They both look very similar. I would say the difference between Array and Summit is night and day compared to the Battle of Jakku map and the Tatooine map. I think they're night and day. I really think they're different.
The way they play.
When I'm trying to say, in Tatooine also with the other map, it's the short map, the one with the transport and all of the transport shit. That's it's kind of like it's rocky mixed in with sand and shit.
Yeah, that's more of the Tatooine one, but the other one with the big-ass ship, that one's more of a Jakku map.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That's still part of Tatooine, though.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, it looks more like Jakku because it's just pure sand. Like, if you put those two smaller maps side by side, would you think those
the point that I'm trying to make is they're reusing textures, and you're going to see that identity take shape with the DLC. I promise you.
Well, two things. One, my main point is that my other side point is, don't you think since they're going to reuse textures, they'll be able to make more maps since it'll be more efficient time-wise? And like I said, Summit and Array compared to those two desert maps.
Because they're paying these people to create this. And like your boy said that he knows a little bit about it. You can ask him. When you're developing something and when you're creating something, there's a lot of detail that goes into this. There's a lot of time and money that goes into putting these textures to place, the lighting, the shading, everything, how the shadows act on it when there's movable objects.
Yeah, but most of that's already in-engine stuff.
To recreate, it's easier and cheaper and more time effective to recreate something that you already have, rather than, and you're going to see that identity take shape on the DLCs. I'm telling you, you're going to have another snow map. You're going to have another grassy environment that's going to be sort of like Endor. They're probably going to do the swamp environment where first met Luke, and it's going to take a lot of shape like Endor. You're going to see it's going to be just like Endor. They're going to use a lot of the trees, a lot of the environments that they took from Endor. They're going to put into those maps, and DICE has been doing it. DICE did it. There's so many different examples that if I could actually sit and think about it, I've seen a lot of those signatures in Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3. And the only reason why I'm referencing those games is because those games were developed well, and even though they were developed well, they still were reusing the shit that they already had and filling the maps with the shit that they already had.
All right.
I mean, I disagree because like what you're saying is the maps would look something like Array and Summit, looking like maybe the jungle map and Caspian Border from Battlefield 4. Well, maybe not that example, but Array and Summit is really what you're saying. It's like, oh, they just took the basic concept of a snow map, and those two maps look very similar, just everything designed like graphically. But I'm saying the difference between those two desert maps, I think is sizable.
Yeah, because one takes on a rocky studded, and the other one takes on sand dunes and easy to get around sand dunes. Like if you take a look at the actual environment, the elevations, the environment and the elevations are similar. It's the same model for Jakku. It's the same model. The only difference is they put.
This is why I agree with. I have a hard time believing, like, okay, so they made the Tatooine map, and you know I have a hard time believing they said, okay, let's make Jakku, but do it all over again. I can see how they would just take the Tatooine map, probably take the objects that were on it off, like take the Millennium Falcon out and everything, and just like put like the big crash ship where that used to be, and instead of having rocks, you just smooth over that texture.
I agree with them.
Instead of having a rocky, studded environment, you have a smooth, yeah, that's what I mean. They modeled it as similar to Tatooine, and you're going to see like I said, you're going to see a lot of these. Now, mind you, these are idiosyncrasies that are minor and not really noticed by people who aren't really paying attention to them. But if you're going to see the same recreation, then you're seeing the same things over. Like there's gonna be things that are not gonna be able to be denied that are gonna be coming out in the DLC. Now, mind you, we're speculating and grasping at straws, and the whole conversation has been nothing but us trying to guess what they're going to do with this DLC. Like again, we could still have space battles, we could still have, Galactic Destroyer inside. Like I'm hoping for inside a Galactic Destroyer. That would be sick. But that's.
Yeah.
I just want something original. I don't want something recreated, restudied, and reshaped for something.
We all want,
I don't want another Endor map.
Yeah, like we all want like the new original content, but we gotta realize that they're paying these developers, and they're paying them a lot of money, and to make something completely new and original takes more time than just say, hey, let's make another Endor map, but just call it Kashyyyk, and guess what? They're not gonna know the difference.
Yeah, they take the same model, the same compound that they used in a previous map, and they reshape it and reform it to make it something.
Or Kashyyyk is the prequel trilogy. They just take Endor, add fog, and call it Dagobah.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I don't want, but unfortunately, I think that's what we're going to get.
Yeah.
All right. I posted a link in the chat. I don't know if anybody can click it without getting out, but Reddit was brainstorming a bunch of ideas for what's left that can come into the game, and they listed some heroes and villains like Lando, Yoda, and Chewie, and then they mentioned like Greedo, Jabba the Hutt as a joke. They mentioned later down.
As a joke too. Or the dude that was the Viceroy, the Jabba the Hutt, the one with the snakes looking things around his neck.
The guy with the dick around his neck?
That guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, these aren't even real people. Like they're grasping for straws. It's like.
Well, there's not much they can do, dude. I went back and watched those movies even after I had this conversation with somebody. There's nothing. There's nothing that they can do.
Like Aaron, you were 100% right when you said they painted themselves into a corner, and I don't think that was their intention, but that's what happened. Like I think they're gonna probably sit down making these DLCs and just be like, "What in the world did we just do to ourselves?"
I think the concepts are already there. I think the concepts for the DLCs are already there. Again, they're just going to reshape and recreate what they've already have given us, and then they're going to save all these fresh ideas and these, everything that we want in this game right now. We're not going to get until the next Battlefront. There will be a next Battlefront. I promise you this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the game sale. This game is going to continue to sell way past February. Once income tax happens and shit, there's a lot of people that are still waiting for this game to drop in price, and you're gonna see that this game is going to be a huge success. It is a huge success. It's Star Wars. I mean, it's Battlefront. It's going to continue.
It's hard to mess up a game like this.
There will be a next Battlefront, and everything that we want in it is going to be there, and we just got to wait for the next one to happen. And it's unfortunate. And what I'm afraid of is the timetable and the contract. They're going to try to market this for the next movie, I'm telling you, and they're going to rush the son of a bitch out. And I have the companion app. And the companion app is that little game and shit where you can check people's stats and play the base command game. Well, it also has where they talk to the main developers, because they had teams that worked on each map. And I read the interview between the people and what they tried to put into the map and how long it took, and what they did with these maps and environments, and also not only what they did but how they were able to create it to make it actually work and function as a multiplayer map, because there's a way that you can make maps look authentic but also make it to where it doesn't function at all as a game. Like you can break a map very easily. I mean, for Christ's sakes, if you just take one choke point and add a cutoff route and you block off a choke point, you can fuck up a map. Making sure that that funnels and flows well and the spawn points and everything works well as a multiplayer map. And everything that they did and what they put a lot of time, money, and resources in every one of those maps that they made. And I'm just afraid that they've strung themselves so thin with the original launch day version, and they only gave us 4 maps, man, plus Jakku, which I think Jakku's just a rehash. I really do. I think Jakku is just a rehash of a model of Tatooine, and then they just put the shit in it to make it look like the Jakku environment. Like if you actually watch the movie, it shows you the actual the fighter, or not the Galactic Destroyer, the back of the Galactic Destroyer, and then they show you the back version, and that's it. They don't actually show you the Jakku environment. It's not actually there. Like the map Jakku with all the shit, it's not actually there. And the map itself is not actually in the movie. It's obviously in an environment in the movie. Jakku is like the main planet in the beginning of the movie, but the actual environment's not there. It's not present in the movie. So that leads me to believe that the game, the map itself was just a rehash of a map that they already had. And I'm afraid that the DLCs are going to be the same way.
Gotcha. So, I think we covered the whole Battlefront thing pretty well.
I think we're done.
You might be done. I have another question. Do you guys think Star Wars Battlefront's going to outsell Battlefield 3?
It might take I think it might take a while, but yeah.
It's an international cult hit, dude. It's an international cult hit. Star Wars itself will sell by itself. It don't even need help. Battlefield needed help selling their game.
That is true.
Yeah.
I'm pulling up the numbers now. Because Battlefield 3 was sitting at 17.23 million copies sold. And Star Wars Battlefront's sitting at is a little under 7, it looks like.
Yeah,
So
but
it's
we're
about
talking
10
about
million behind.
all-time versus like what? How long has it been out? A month?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then Battlefield 4 only sold 13 million. It sold less than Battlefield 3.
All right. See, I think he'll outsell. It might. I don't know how long it'll take, but I think it will.
I think it will as well.
My question is,
Really?
all this talk on Battlefront, are we actually going to play the fucking game?
Yeah, as soon as this is over, son, I can go back
I'm
to
playing it right now.
This dude.
I would have played it, but I really can't. I really wanted to focus on the conversation because I was actually
You're in the thick of it.
But just to sum it all up, I'm a type. The way I buy games and the way I play games is I have to be 100% fully endorsed in the game before I pay money for it, and I have to know that I'm because I've made mistakes, and I don't want to make another $60 mistake. I don't want to make a hardline mistake. Battlefield hardline mistake. Again, because I paid $60 for that game, got it the night before so I can get the whole pre-order shit, and it wasn't even worth it to me. And I'm invested in Battlefront. I made the $60 investment in it. I'm 100% that I'm getting the DLC. I just hope and I pray that my $50 is in good hands because I want to be impressed. I want to be excited for what's going to be coming out. And I think a lot of this misdirection and a lot of this smoke screen that they're putting up is leaving a lot of people like, what can they do? What if they're not doing this? What? I think this is actually a tactic that they're using to send you in the wrong direction to try to either, one, blow your mind, or two, make you believe that it's going to be for another game, or make you believe that, I don't even know. To be honest with you, I don't even know. I just know that all this talk and all these rumors is kind of helping in their favor for this DLC, because you got to understand something. People just bought this game. Their next step in their marketing strategy is to get people to buy that DLC. That's what they have to do. That's what their project is going to be, is to try to get people to buy that DLC.
I guess we're just going to have to see how
it's good. It's got to be good. Really, that's the only option that they have. They have to have some type of wow factor in order, because you got to understand that they're going to be showing videos, gameplay, and shit of this DLC. It's got to be good, because if not, they're not going to sell it. Because a consumer like me, if it's not good, I don't want to buy it.
Well, that's a walk-off. I guess we're done with the podcast. Thanks for watching. Anybody got any final statements?
Stay frosty out there. Again, Aaron's actually a homosexual. His girlfriend's a cover-up.
Don't tell people to stay calculated.
I can confirm this probably.
Well, Gangster Aaron being a homo aside, you could always check me out. Stormtrooper XP1 or hFpStormTrooper /Twitch. Check out the broadcast. And Aaron's gay.
Yeah, Aaron's a pretty legit guy.
I'm just going to edit all this out at the
end. Dang it! You fragment.
Oh my god.
I saw everything Aaron knows about how to edit. So.
I just want to shout out to our dude Bravo, who wanted us to do this and then didn't stay for after conversation. So shout out to him.
He said he'll be watching this, so
he dipped.
Hello, Bravo.
So if you skip forward to this part of the video, Bravo, what up, dude?
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. Dillon, you have any comments?
Not really.
I'd like to shout out to Stormtrooper. Maybe he'll unmute me on Xbox so we can talk. That'd be cool.
You should say that when he dipped. He don't want to even hear this shit.
Dang it, he taking a shit. He ain't even listening to me.
I'm still here.
Yo, unmute me on Xbox, dude. You the homie.
You guys will be the first to know when I'm back on Xbox, I promise.
I am.
This dude. Your dad gonna break your phone next and you'll really be